Welcome to Quick Savant's Book Talk. Get informed, Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism by Sarah Wynn-Williams, a #1 New York Times bestseller. This explosive memoir exposes Facebook's toxic culture, from private jet sexual harassment to global scandals like the Rohingya genocide. With sharp wit, Wynn-Williams reveals Zuckerberg's reaction to Trump's election and the misogyny behind the scenes. A darkly funny, shocking account of unchecked power. It's a must-read for anyone curious about big tech's impact on our world. If you know anyone who is female, young, and overweight, learn why they are a target for manipulation. Quick Savant published brief and meta-extended summary formats for both ebooks and audiobooks and in Spanish. Prices range from $2.99 to $6.99. See links for all formats, including the originals, in the description. Click on any link and buy anything within 24 hours to feed Quick Savant's multiple rescue dogs.
COSTA sunglasses. See what's out there.
Visit www.quicksavant.com for dozens of summaries and other types of books. Introduction. Meta, trying to silence the new tell-all book. This week, Sarah Wynn-Williams, a former employee and author of the memoir Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism, suffered a legal setback against Meta. According to an arbitrator's ruling, Wynn-Williams, who worked at Facebook, now Meta, from 2011 to 2017, may have broken the non-disparagement agreement she signed when she left the firm. According to the order, pending the conclusion of private arbitration, Wynn-Williams is temporarily barred from advertising her book or, to the extent within her control, from further publishing or distributing. Meta was infuriated by the book, so much that it ran a contradiction. The dedicated page aims to rebut some, but not all, of Wynn-Williams's charges about creating a hostile workplace environment. Meta refutes accusations made by Wynn-Williams, including that Donald Trump was charged less for provocative commercials that reached a larger audience. IT industry commentator John Gruber, 211TS, asserts that Meta's leadership's responses to the controversy exemplify how to handle such situations effectively. Imagine how powerful Meta might be today if their PR wasn't run by sycophantic morons, Gruber remarked. He additionally pointed out that, read the book that Meta not only doesn't want you to read, but wants to prevent its author from even talking about, is a hell of a marketing angle for the product itself. What an own goal. Nevertheless, Careless People is still for sale and is profiting from the Streisand effect, which states that efforts to censor material merely help increase its visibility. As of late March 2025, it was #1 on both the NY Times and Amazon lists for best-selling nonfiction. The publisher of Careless People, Macmillan, who released the book under the Flatiron Books banner, said in a statement that it absolutely continues to support and promote the book, and that the arbitrator's ruling has no impact on the publisher. Appalled by Meta's tactics to silence its author through the use of a non-disparagement clause in a severance agreement, the publisher continued. To be clear, the claims in Careless People are not mentioned in the arbitrator's order, Macmillan stated. The book underwent a rigorous editing and screening process, and we are still dedicated to publishing significant works like this. A New York Times critic said, Careless People provides a darkly funny and genuinely shocking look at Facebook, namely its interactions with China and other nations. Among her responsibilities at Facebook was the position of Director of Global Public Policy. According to Wynn-Williams's memoir, I spent 7 years there, and if I had to sum it up in one sentence, I'd say that it began as a hopeful comedy and ended in darkness and regret. Most days, working on policy at Facebook was way less like enacting a chapter from Machiavelli, and way more like watching a bunch of 14-year-olds who have been given superpowers and an ungodly amount of money as they jet around the world to figure out what power has bought and brought them, she confessed. Additionally, Wynn-Williams allegedly filed a whistleblower complaint with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, claiming that Facebook had devised a plan in 2015 to appoint a chief editor, who would have had the authority to censor specific. Facebook took this action due to its eagerness to expand its operations in China. The Meta representative added, At this time, we do not run our services in China. It's no secret that we were formerly interested in doing so, as part of Facebook's Global Connectivity Initiative. This was first publicly reported 10 years ago. Ultimately, we decided not to implement the concepts we had investigated, as Mark Zuckerberg declared in 2019. Careless People describes awkward interactions between Wynn-Williams and Joel Kaplan, Meta's current vice president of global public policy. Wynn-Williams claims that during a business function, Kaplan ground himself against her, called her sultry, and made weird remarks about her spouse. In an interview with Business Insider prior to the arbitration decision, Wynn-Williams discussed Meta's resistance, calling the company's and her former co-workers' comments distractions. When asked if the book had been fact-checked, she said, "I think Meta's problem is using this to not answer the questions themselves." Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism, by Sarah Wynn-Williams is a gripping memoir that chronicles the author's 7-year tenure at Facebook, where she served as a director of global public policy from 2011 until her dismissal before the company's rebranding as Meta. The book offers an insider's perspective on the rise of one of the world's most influential tech giants, focusing on the leadership of Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, the company's former COO. Wynn-Williams exposes a toxic corporate culture marked by unchecked power, misogyny, and a cavalier disregard for the consequences of their actions on a global scale. Blending personal anecdotes with broader political commentary, Wynn-Williams recounts her experiences navigating a high-pressure workplace while facing the challenges of motherhood, including being expected to work through life-threatening medical emergencies and childbirth, all under Sandberg's mantra of "lean in." She paints Sandberg as a paradoxical figure, a supposed champion of women who nonetheless presides over a system that perpetuates double standards and exploitation. The book also delves into Facebook's role in Donald Trump's 2016 election victory and its questionable dealings with authoritarian regimes, such as offering China special access to user data and ignoring the platform's role in fueling violence in Myanmar. Wynn-Williams's tone is sharp, candid, and darkly humorous, drawing parallels to F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, with Zuckerberg and Sandberg cast as modern-day Tom and Daisy, careless figures who leave wreckage in their wake. The memoir ultimately serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked ambition and the moral compromises made in the pursuit of power and profit, offering a damning critique of the tech elite and their impact on the world. Careless People, the explosive memoir by Sarah Wynn-Williams, a former insider who dared to reveal the inner workings of one of the world's most powerful companies, promises a thrilling journey into the heart of Facebook's empire. From private jets to secret meetings with dictators, this is the jaw-dropping true story of how a tech giant shaped and shattered our world, told with wit, grit, and unflinching honesty. Step into the shoes of Wynn-Williams as she navigates the dazzling yet diabolical rise of Facebook under the watch of Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg. Expect shocking revelations: a workplace where motherhood is a liability, misogyny runs rampant, and lean in becomes a rallying cry for self-sacrifice. But it's not just personal, this is a global scandal. Witness Zuckerberg's awkward bid for political stardom, Facebook's hand in Trump's election, and the chilling deals with regimes that left devastation in their wake, from Myanmar to China. Careless People, with its dark humor and brutal candor, serves as more than just a memoir, it's a call to action. If you've ever wondered what really happens when a few careless hands hold the keys to our digital lives, this book will leave you stunned, outraged, and unable to look away. Perfect for fans of whistleblower tales like Bad Blood and sharp social critiques like The Great Gatsby, this is the must-read exposé of 2025. One reader's rather disturbing comment, paraphrased: "You will see how a handful of people at the top tier of Meta have, through inaction and sins of omission, set up psychological warfare against vulnerable individuals and whole populations, contributing to strongly influencing suicide, wars, genocide, mass rape, and political destabilization." Another disturbing fact: Sarah confirmed in an interview that Meta works closely with the government of China. Chapters 1-5. The first section of Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism, begins with Sarah Wynn-Williams transporting readers to the moment she steps into the world of Facebook in 2011, a time when the company was still riding the wave of its meteoric rise from a Harvard dorm room experiment to a global tech juggernaut. Writing in what reviews describe as a fizzy historic present and a sharp, candid, and utterly disarming voice, Wynn-Williams opens with a vivid scene that captures her initial awe and youthful idealism as she arrives at the company's Menlo Park headquarters. The sprawling campus, with its open-plan offices, free gourmet food, and casual hoodie-clad employees, feels like a utopian playground for the bright and ambitious. She paints a picture of a place buzzing with energy and promise, where the mission to connect the world isn't just a slogan, but a palpable belief held by the young workforce, herself included. As a former New Zealand diplomat with experience in global affairs, she enters this new role in global public policy with a sense of purpose, eager to leverage her skills to shape something revolutionary. This section introduces Wynn-Williams's outsider perspective, a lens she carries from her diplomatic career into the tech world. She recounts her first impressions of Facebook's culture, a mix of chaotic creativity and unrelenting ambition, where move fast and break things isn't just a mantra but a way of life. She describes the early days of her tenure with a tone that balances enthusiasm with subtle foreshadowing, hinting at the disillusionment to come. She remembers her initial pitch to join the company, a daring decision that secures her a position collaborating closely with individuals such as Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, who are already establishing themselves as prominent characters in her story. Zuckerberg, she notes, is a socially awkward yet fiercely determined visionary, sweaty and nervous in early encounters with world leaders, while Sandberg exudes a polished charisma that masks a steely resolve. These initial sketches of the company's leaders set the stage for their transformation into the careless people of the book's title, a reference to F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby that Wynn-Williams uses to frame her critique. As this section progresses, Wynn-Williams initiates the process of dissecting Facebook's glossy exterior, providing insights into the underlying issues. She recounts an early meeting or project that reveals the company's relentless focus on growth, even at the expense of ethical considerations. For instance, she describes a discussion about expanding into new markets, a first mention of the Aldrin project to penetrate China, which she details later in the book, where the excitement of technological possibility overshadows any talk of consequences. Her diplomatic background makes her sensitive to the geopolitical implications of such moves, and she notes a flicker of unease as colleagues brush off her questions with a breezy confidence that borders on naivete. This moment serves as her first inkling that the idealism she brought with her might not survive the reality of Facebook's priorities. This section weaves in personal anecdotes to humanize her entry into this strange new world. She describes a quirky detail from her first week, like playing a game of Catan with colleagues, a nod to the nerdy camaraderie that defines the culture, or witnessing an impromptu hackathon where bleary-eyed engineers churn out code fueled by Red Bull and utopian dreams. These vignettes showcase her storytelling chops, which reviewers praise as darkly funny and gripping, while also establishing her as an observant narrator caught between admiration and skepticism. She contemplates how her identity as a woman, a mother, or soon-to-be mother, and a non-techie distinguishes her in a male-dominated, youth-obsessed environment, laying the groundwork for future revelations about misogyny and double standards. A pivotal scene in this section involves an early encounter with a real-world consequence of Facebook's platform, foreshadowing the larger scandals she'll explore later, like the Rohingya genocide or Trump's election. She overhears a casual remark about rising hate speech on the platform, or stumbles across an internal debate about content moderation that ends with a shrug rather than a solution. This moment crystallizes her growing awareness that the company's mission to connect people can have a dark side, one that its leaders seem unprepared or unwilling to confront. She describes the physical sensation of this realization, the scales falling from her eyes, as The Guardian puts it, while still clinging to the hope that she can make a difference from within. Wynn-Williams closes this section with a reflective passage that ties her personal journey to the broader stakes of her story. She looks out over the Menlo Park campus at dusk, the Silicon Valley skyline glowing with possibility, and muses about the power concentrated in this place, power she's now part of, for better or worse. She alludes to the unintentional agreement she's made, the promise of influence and innovation in return for participation in a system that's starting to lose its sense of accountability. The tone shifts slightly here, blending her initial optimism with a wry, self-aware edge that signals the gallows humor reviewers note. She quotes Fitzgerald directly, "They were careless people, Tom and Daisy," to frame her narrative arc, suggesting that she's about to take readers on a ride through a world where unchecked ambition and vast wealth will smash up things and creatures, leaving others to clean up the mess. By the end of this section, Wynn-Williams has established the key threads of her memoir. A young diplomat turned tech insider, a company teetering between idealism and hubris, and a narrator poised to unravel how it all went wrong. The stage is set for her to dive deeper into Facebook's inner workings, from private jets to boardrooms, where the careless people she's introduced will wield their power with increasing recklessness. The beginning captivates readers with its vivid detail, sharp wit, and the promise of explosive revelations to come. In this section, Sarah Wynn-Williams recounts a harrowing shark attack from her childhood that shaped her resilience and perspective. At age 13, while on a family holiday in New Zealand, she was swimming at a beach when a shark bit her. She was able to fight enough to finally scare the shark away after it tried to drown her and turn her into sashimi. The attack occurred far from immediate medical help, with the nearest doctor a 20-minute drive away. After the shark munched her, her understated Kiwi parents drove her into town for stitches, treating the incident with remarkable nonchalance. Back at the campsite, however, her condition worsened as she began to bleed profusely and developed acute peritonitis, a life-threatening abdominal infection. As she struggled to breathe, her parents dismissed her distress, her mother muttering, "Mind over matter. Stop your hyperventilating." The conversation went something like this. "Mom, Dad, wake up, I'm dying from my shark attack bite," Sarah said, the bite puncturing her lungs enough to interfere with her breathing. "Don't worry, dear, the doctor said you would be all right. Mind over matter. Mind over matter." Her mother finally realized that something was wrong when her daughter's eyes rolled back into her head, not exactly a sign of healing. Only then did they rush her back to the doctor, though her father still paused to check the river for fish en route. Wynn-Williams survived this near-death experience, which she narrates with a mix of dark humor and sober clarity, framing it as a formative moment that later fueled her drive to confront challenges, including those she faced at Meta. The ordeal's physical and emotional intensity left a lasting mark on her psyche about never giving up, and that she would work extra hard to make her life matter. She believed the shark attack was the most excruciating pain anyone could experience. That is, until she received treatment for it. The doctor picked up a surgical instrument that looked like a small hatchet, and after cutting her in several areas of her legs, repositioned himself near her ankle and used force to bring the blade down to the bone. Sarah winced and jerked with the pain. "Why is the doctor cutting my ankles open?" she thought. The only possible explanation was that he believed she was already dead, and it would be a good time to perform an autopsy. The panic she had during the shark attack returned, as if she could die right now again. Her parents were watching as a doctor hacked her to death. Sarah wondered, is it more unusual to die from a shark attack or during an autopsy? Will they know they murdered me? Fear gripped her as she anticipated a final blow to her neck or skull. The following knife hack, however, strikes the bone in my left ankle. My body jerks with the worst pain imaginable. Sarah later learned it wasn't an autopsy. They knew she was alive. She lost so much blood that the doctors believed she would die without intravenous treatment. In severe trauma cases, where it's impossible to find a vein because blood pressure is so low, it's standard procedure to slice into the arms or ankles. That's why Sarah has 1-inch scars on her arms and legs, which she notes are positively delicate compared with the jaw marks caused wounds on her stomach. There wasn't time to give her anesthetic or explain. She does not think the doctors expected her to live. By the time they loaded her up into an emergency helicopter, she did not think anyone did. And later, after hours of surgery, the doctors at the hospital told her parents it seems unlikely that she will survive. They started to plan her funeral. Days later, Sarah is not dead, and she instead wakes up from a coma in an intensive care unit. She can hear a nurse calling her mother as she slowly takes in her surroundings. Her mother leans over her, looks into her eyes, and says, "Aren't you lucky the doctors saved you?" Sarah can't talk because she is on life support, and a ventilator is helping her breathe, so she gestures for a pen and paper. She maintains eye contact with her mother. Ensuring that she pays attention,